Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. Folks, if you watch my channel, this guy should be no surprise. He did a deep dive on probate for us over the weekend. Rylas, I want to thank you for that. The feedback has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me. I love being a part of this community. That was a lot of fun Saturday. Had a lot of good participation, good questions. So that's fun for me to be able to rapid fire questions like that.
Awesome. Well, we're going to do a little spin on that. We're going to talk about seller financing and kind of estate planning. So this is definitely in your wheelhouse, not only because you are a creative real estate investor, but obviously because you're an attorney. And this is what you do all day for your day job. So let's hear what you have. Let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so creative finance, one of my favorite topics ever since I met Pace Morby.
Shout out Pace.
Before him, it always meant jail in my world. Creative finance was bad. Don't get creative.
Creative finance, go to jail.
Yeah, but there are a lot of good strategies that are not going to put you in jail, that are 100% legal, but they're just not known by the mainstream. So I love channels like this that are spreading the word, and that's what I'm trying to do on my platforms as well. So my day job, most people watching this know, but my day job is estate planning and a probate attorney. So I get to meet a lot of people, and I've started pitching to them different creative finance solutions as estate planning solutions, possible estate planning solutions. So again, I feel like my knowledge of creative finance makes me a better attorney.
I agree. Yeah, it's not just cookie cutter, right? I think there are certain client situations where the cookie cutter answer may not be the right answer, frankly.
Yeah, and as an attorney, that's what I really enjoy, the hard stuff. I've kind of gotten a reputation. I used to have an office in a small town of Arizona. I don't anymore, but they would just bring me the hard stuff, which is great. Like they knew that I was a Phoenix lawyer, and sometimes they want to work with locals, but when stuff got hard, they would call me. So which is what I like. So ways I've seen creative finance as a potential estate planning solution. I got a couple of different scenarios. So
okay. Please.
This is something I think will resonate with this community. So I've seen a lot of people, some of them maybe even came from this channel to meet with me regarding estate planning, and they have a bunch of rental properties. Okay. It's been their baby, they manage them themselves a lot of times, and they want to turn them over to their kids.
Okay.
And the question I ask is, are your kids ready to be landlords? Usually first I ask, like, who's managing them, right? Is this a hands-on operation, or is there a management company where it's more hands-off? And a lot of times the answer I get is something like this, like, I'm managing them, it's easy. Right? And
ooh, yeah, that's going to be a tough transition.
Yeah, who's preparing your taxes? I do, it's easy. So, yeah. And a lot of times these are like really bright people.
Yeah.
It's easy for them, but it's something their kids have never been involved in, and they might not have interest.
Right.
So sometimes my job, I feel like it's crushing dreams.
I'm just going to build this portfolio and give it to my kids. They're going to sell it as fast as possible. That's happens.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what do you think the kids are going to do with it? I've also had people where, maybe it's not a whole portfolio. Maybe it's just like one or two income properties, but they want their kid to receive it and they keep getting the income.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep.
So what I try to focus on is, like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to provide income, or are you trying to force your kid to be a landlord?
Right.
If you're trying to provide income, there could be other ways where I say you may consider selling your portfolio now or at some point and holding the notes on it.
Yeah.
So that way you're holding the right to get paid, an income stream, and what the kids inherit is that right to get paid. So it's less likely they'll cash it out and buy a Ferrari.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So
yeah, you're bringing something up so I wrote this book that, called 15 Conversations with Real Estate Millionaires. People have often asked me what was the most meaningful chapter to me. In this book, we talk about one of the chapters is a young lady in her 70s, and she says during the interview, "Have you ever met a 70-year-old landlord that does a good job?" And the answer really is no, right? They're under market, they're not well maintained, blah 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 blah. So she said she never wanted to be that person. So she started seller financing when she turned 65 and did them a little bit at a time because again, she wanted to have the income, but more importantly, she knew her kids, which who had spread across the United States, weren't interested in being landlords. They would just fire sell them. So now she's just going to turn over, notes. But that's one of the big stories in this book is in Olivia and I will take heed when we get to that age. It's like, okay, time to unwind because we know our daughter doesn't want to own rentals. So, yeah, definitely I'm getting what you're putting down. So great advice.
Yeah, that's good to see people are really doing it. A good point you brought up in there is under market. That's a lot of things I talk to these people about too, where, they care for their tenants, they haven't raised in 10 years.
Oh
But then I
yeah.
bring up like, you're leaving a problem for your kids, right? Like whoever's in charge of the estate, they have a fiduciary duty to do what's best with all of those assets.
Mhm.
And it just means bringing them back up to regular rent.
Yeah,
So
and again, if you've ever done that on an asset, which I have, that's a multi-year. If it's like multiple, it's a multi-year problem because you got to go through several. Oh, it's painful. It's painful. Not, and it's certainly not. If you're not a landlord, not ready for it, it will not be fun. It will be extremely stressful. So, great advice.
yeah, so that's something you kind of see the light bulb go on in people's head, right? It's like, oh, like I didn't know I could do that.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize that's an option.
Yep. Yeah. The other thing is, I one of the notes that I have today was from a lady who when her husband passed, I think this was 5 or 6 years ago, they had, I think it was 6 rentals. And she had 2 of them that were they were doing an okay job, but every couple of years they would go back in and like, update one of them, right? It was how they spread out their expenses. So what she did is she reached out to me and I bought the 2 that were scheduled for pretty heavy uplift because she just didn't want to do it. She only had a certain amount of cash. She didn't want to have the risk. So um, and there's just lots of good reasons to turn these things into for you to become a bank. And she's been getting payments from me for years now, and I get a Christmas card every year thanking me. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, so just a house as an asset, you can change the asset that you hold by holding the note and turn
Correct.
it into an income stream or an annuity, if you will. So that can be a good option for people out there to consider. Another topic that's coming up recently more often is selling subject to the mortgage.
Hmm. Okay.
Where I'll have clients that I meet to do their estate planning, and they're trying to sell a house right now, right?
Right.
They're one of those that in the need to sell position.
Okay.
And it's, I love what I do because I get to meet all these different types of people and, the people that are experiencing all these things. And I'm like, yeah, what are you going to do? What, just keep lowering the price
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
or what?
Yeah.
What's the plan here? But when I bring up selling subject to the mortgage, I just said that opens you up to some new buyers. Say if you're open to keeping that mortgage in place
Mhm.
and selling just your equity, that opens up a whole new world of people who may be interested in your property.
Yeah, and for folks who don't know, you're in Phoenix, right? Which one of those markets is dominated by iBuyers. iBuyers took it too high. Now iBuyers are getting out, which is causing an adjustment. So there may be a lot of people sitting on great mortgages, but little to no equity, and this could be a problem, right? If life events happen and you've got to sell, like you have to sell. I think sub two. You're right. I think it opens you up to another set of participants. So good advice.
Yeah, so just again, trying to make people aware they have more choices. The realtor and banker may not tell them about this, but these are acceptable legal things that you can do. And by leaving the mortgage in place, it's easier to strike a win-win deal on both sides.
Yes.
So
Yep.
The other thing, I'll credit this channel and credit, watching in, you and other people have talked about this, but when I have clients where they need to sell, besides subject to, I say the other thing to do is offer a closing cost. Don't just lower the price, offer the closing cost. And we've had clients be successful with that, where they've been able to sell properties recently in this market by pricing it right and offering those closing costs.
I think that's a really wise move today, because again, one of the things that I'm seeing in this market, and agents, please pay attention to this. If you have a property that's kind of FHA passable, what I would do on every listing is talk about seller credits, 3%, whatever the limit is. And you're going to get an FHA buyer, because again, they're going to come with little down. If they don't have to bring any closing costs as well, that just opens you up to more and more buyers. So I strongly recommend that. It probably doesn't work great on a fixer that won't pass, because that's going to always be your high down payment buyers. But yeah, if you have a clean house, new build, you got to get out. Offering closing costs actually opens you up to FHA buyers. So great recommendation.
Yeah, it's working well. And I've had some people where they don't want to work with the people that I recommend, in the beginning. They had their realtor or their friend or neighbor, and now they're coming back to us.
Yeah, it's really funny. Again, I've been in this game a long time. This is just a cycle where there, all real estate agents, it was easy the last 2 years. The next 2 years, the great agents will clearly distinguish themselves, and you'll know very quickly if you have a lazy agent or a great agent.
Yeah, now's not the time to do a favor for your friend or your brother-in-law or whatever. Let them throw it on the MLS. Like you need to
There's
do
a lot more to do than that. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing in real estate. So it's fun in my world how these things intersect, because a large part of people's estate is usually real estate. So
I would suspect for most people, it is the home, right? And again, again, if I were to guess, I would say probably 80% or more, the largest thing that they will own to be considered is the home, I would think. Is that roughly true or no?
It's like a good guess. I would,
Yeah,
if you told me that, I'd believe you.
sounds like it's true now. Michael said. That's funny. The other thing I want to work in here to this video is kind of a topic that I was playing with, and I think this would be a good add-on to this discussion. Is we're obviously heading into a changing business cycle. Greg Dickerson always says good times never last, bad times never last. We're entering one of those bad cycles. I am curious, does estate planning go up when people are afraid, right? They're trying to protect, or does it go down because they just don't want to do, they want to do nothing. They want to stick their head in the sand. What is going on in your world as your day job in an economy that's getting a little dicey?
Yeah, I would say some of that has kind of gone away with that estate tax exemption so high, meaning it's at 12 million and 12 million times 2 for a married couple. So with little to no planning, they can pass 25 million. But I'm remembering back to when it was lower, when the exemption was lower. I think that kind of spurred more planning. Like when the economy tightened up, people are like, oh crap, I better protect what I have more. Like I don't have enough to waste on taxes and other things. But I feel like that high exemption, it's not as much of a factor now.
Okay.
So I feel like my job security is the mortality rate being 100%.
Yeah, nobody's beaten it yet.
Yeah, so on that side, whenever someone passes away, it may generate some work that needs to be done. They may want someone like me to help them administer the trust in the estate, so they don't get sued by their siblings.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you are in California or Arizona, want to reach out, maybe you saw the probate video, you want to set up some entities or trusts or any of that stuff, Rylas is the man. How do you want them to reach out or follow you? How do you want them to do that?
You can go to rylasdana.com. My first and last name has links to my law firm and even a link to our playlist, all the videos we've done.
Awesome. Yeah, it goes back years, folks. A lot of great stuff here. If you have a question about probate or estates, it's probably in this playlist. Rylas, thank you so much. It's been a great week. Thank you again for last week and great feedback. Greatly appreciated.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You got it.